Hey everyone, I'm John Herbst, and in this video, I'll be walking you through the steps of properly installing a SmartJack system. First though, let's talk about the problem this system is designed to fix. Several reasons can cause a floor system to sag. Many times, improper spacing of columns span beams farther than they are capable, or the columns themselves have incompetent soil supporting them. Also, a crawlspace environment generally causes the building materials of the structure to take in too much moisture, causing the system to be weakened. Foundation Support Works manufactures a SmartJack system to correct these problems for homeowners. The SmartJack system utilizes galvanized extra strength tubing with a lifting assembly, all supported by a structural pad. This system will stabilize and in many cases will lift sagging floors. The FSI SmartJack system has already been used to help many homeowners with their sagging floor problems. When ordering SmartJacks from Foundation Support Works, we carry 3 different assemblies in stock. The 288 and 350 SmartJack assemblies, which are designed to be custom made for most applications, and the 350 SmartJack XT assembly, which comes in either 9-foot or 10-foot lengths. The XT assembly is designed for full height applications. No matter what assembly option you order, you will receive the following components in the assembly per SmartJack: 1 top plate, 1 threaded rod, 1 threaded tube insert, 1 tube section, 1 tube base, and a branding label is included in every box. The assemblies come with all necessary components to the system, but you'll still need to come prepared with all of the necessary tools and materials for the job. As you can see on the screen, there's an additional list of required materials, tools, and equipment for the SmartJack installation. You can find this list as well as other helpful information in the link below. For a SmartJack installation, a 2-man crew is sufficient for smaller jobs, but a 3-man crew would be more ideal for most projects. The foreman will primarily be responsible for managing the project and communicating with the homeowner, while the co-foreman and installer's responsibilities are to provide support to the foreman and keep the installation progressing forward. The SmartJack installation is completed in 6 steps. Before we begin, let's overview this process. To begin step 1, we prepare the work area. For step 2, we lay out the locations and hang the beam if necessary. Third, we excavate and prepare the base. In step 4, we measure, cut, and install the assembly and its components. Then in step 5, we tighten and secure the system. Finally, we clean up the work area in step 6. Step 1. Prepare the work area. Our goal is to eliminate any possibility of dirt, dust, and debris from being left behind in the customer's home when the project is complete. If accessing the work area from inside the customer's home, place drop cloths down in the paths you'll be walking. Along with the work prep items, bring all tools and materials necessary into the workspace at this time, with exception to the SmartJack tubing. This will save time and energy as you progress through the installation. Step 2. Determine the location of the system and hang the power brace beam. It is time to determine the exact location of where each SmartJack will be placed. The number of SmartJacks, and if necessary, the length of a supplemental beam, should have already been determined for you by the system design specialist. And your responsibility is to determine the final location for these components of the system. Part of the system design specialist's responsibility while they are consulting with the homeowner is to determine the number of SmartJacks necessary to achieve the customer's goals of stabilizing their sagging floors. A great benefit available to them is our sales software called Foundation View. Foundation View allows the customer to see animations as well as real-life photos of the installation and the product. This software also calculates the price of the project. Within Foundation View is a program called the Load Calculator. The Load Calculator is software developed by Foundation SupportWorks engineering staff to help design specialists space products according to field conditions. With the SmartJack system, the design specialist enters a handful of variables specific to the structure to determine how many columns are needed and at what distance apart they need to be installed at. When it is time to mark out locations, refer back to the load calculator diagram to determine how far apart to space the columns. Ideally, SmartJacks will be installed 2 to 3 feet from the wall at 5 to 6 feet apart. However, depending on how severe the situation is, spacings as close as 3 feet apart may be necessary. If placing the SmartJack system under an existing beam, simply measure and mark out locations on the beam in accordance with the results from the load calculator. If a supplemental beam is necessary for the installation, the location of it will need to be determined first. To start installing a supplemental beam, begin by hanging a string line across the floor joists to represent its final location. Then, install the joist assist brackets onto each floor joist. It works best to make a center mark on each bracket, then to align the mark with the string line. This ensures the brackets will be centered on the beam. Now, secure the bracket to the floor joist through the holes near the top. Once all joist assist brackets are in place, it is time to hang the power brace beams. First, remove the string line. Then, before raising the beam, slide the needed amount of top plates onto the flange. To hang the power brace beams, utilize the tabs from the joist assist bracket and use wire to temporarily hold the beams in place. Before lifting the beam, make a noose out of one side of the wire and hang it on one of the tabs. Then, lift the power brace beam into position with a man on both sides. Move the top plates close to their designated area and pull the slack out of the wire and hook it on the other side tab. Repeat this process with all remaining beams and lift into position. Slide the top brackets to the correct side of the wire, then use it to secure the beam into position. For connecting two beams as a continuous, uniform beam, use the sandwich assembly. The sandwich assembly allows a SmartJack to be installed directly underneath the beam splice. So be sure to cut the power brace beams and space the SmartJack locations accordingly. Next, mark out exact locations for each SmartJack on the beam using a permanent marker. Step 3. Excavate the soil and prepare the base. Once all locations have been laid out and marked, it's time to excavate the holes. Hang a plumb bob from the center of the beam at your desired location where the center of the hole needs to be. Then excavate the hole. A short-handled shovel and a chipping hammer with a shovel bit works best. Using the plumb bob as a reference, check the position and dimensions of the hole with the tape measure. If you are installing the tube base to be above grade, the hole needs to be a minimum of 2 feet deep.
Yeah, what were you
In many cases, the soil is the reason homeowners experience sagging floors. The SmartJack system is designed to eliminate soil from the equation. By excavating a 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot deep hole and compacting a new engineered pad into place, we are strongly increasing the system's capabilities. This concept is called the bulb of influence. You see, when we construct this new footing into the earth, we are using a material that is much more stable than soil, so moisture, or lack thereof, cannot affect it. Also, we are distributing forces through the granular base, so that by the time it gets to the soil, it's a manageable pressure to the soil around and underneath. Per square foot, the SmartJack system reduces the pressure felt by nearly 90%. Once the hole is excavated, place 4 to 6 inches worth of crushed stone into the hole. Then tamp down with a chipping hammer and a tamping foot. Continue this process until the base is complete. When filling and tamping your last layer, try to leave as flat of a surface as possible. It will save time when leveling the tube base. Now it's time to set the tube base into place. Position it onto the new base and readjust your plumb bob to the appropriate height. Center the base onto the plumb bob and check the levelness of both directions using a small level. You may have to slightly adjust the compacted fill to make the tube base perfectly level. This can be achieved by using a board and a small sledge. Step 4. Measure, cut, and install the assembly. First, measure from the tube base up to the bottom side of the beam and subtract 4.5 inches, which is the height of the assembly's top. This is the length at which to cut the SmartJack tube. The foreman should be making measurements while the co-foreman records them onto paper. When cutting the SmartJack tube, a chop saw with a carbide-toothed blade is best. Find a flat area for a workspace and cut the tubes at a 90-degree angle, numbering each tube as it's cut to keep them organized. Start the installation at each location by assembling the top components together. Turn the threaded tube insert onto the threaded rod until it is almost up to the nut. Then, place the entire assembly into the top of the SmartJack tube, rest the SmartJack tube into the tube base, and maneuver the top threaded rod into the top plate. Next, rest the assembly into the tube base at a slight angle. Guide the bolt up into the collar of the top clip and slowly shift the assembly into an upright position. Use a digital level to make sure the SmartJack is straight and plumb. If securing the top plate to an existing wood beam, use 4 wood screws. Step 5. Tighten and secure the system. Once all SmartJacks and components have been installed into place, it is time to tighten the system with a large pipe wrench. This works best when multiple crew members are adjusting the SmartJacks at the same time and the foreman is upstairs monitoring doors, walls, ceiling gaps, and floor levelness side by side with the customer. If a lot of lift is desired, it is beneficial to set up temporary jacks in between each SmartJack location to pre-lift the system before using the SmartJacks to achieve the final elevation. It is important to point out that if this is the case, do this before measuring and cutting tube lengths in order to utilize the top tightening assembly to the fullest. Remember, the lifting process is not guaranteed to the customer. In many cases, you will be able to achieve lift and get good results, but in some cases, it may be better to not lift at all. Whatever the case, be clear to the customer during this process about expectations. And when the customer becomes satisfied with the results, consult with them about your opinion based on your experience, but don't be a hero and try to get more because you think so. It's their house and their money. Step 6. Clean up the work area. The last step with our SmartJack installation is to clean up. Before tearing down the work site and transporting all tools and materials back to the truck, do a final quality check of the system. Be sure all columns are plumb, all assemblies are complete and secure, and that each location has been tightened appropriately. And don't forget to remove the wire for a clean final look. Remove all tools, materials, and plastic from the worksite. Sweep the floor if necessary, and tidy everything up. Well, there you have it. By following this process, you will have successfully installed a SmartJack system. Let's take a moment to review that process one more time. In step 1, we prepared the work area. In step 2, we determined the exact location for each SmartJack and hung the beam. For step 3, we excavated the hole and prepared the base. Step 4, we measured, cut, and installed the assembly into place. Step 5, we tightened and secured the system. And in the final step, step 6, we cleaned up the entire work area. Your last responsibility with the installation is to provide a post-job walkthrough for the customer. Here, you will be completely explaining the system and addressing any concerns they may have. Specifically to the SmartJack system, you'll want to advise them to wait a few months before correcting cosmetic repairs, especially if any lift was achieved. A great benefit to the homeowner is the adjustable feature of the system. And should they experience any future sagging, it's an easy procedure to return and adjust the system appropriately. As with any concern you may have, please feel free to reach out to us, your dealer support production team. We will be more than happy to help you.